Thunderbirds are go.
Yes. So, hey, guys.
All right, Penelope.
I'm Brains, thank you very much.
Oh, your brains.
Oh,
that must
okay.
mean that Rain is Penelope.
I'm not telling. So why did the face
Yes,
of Bo
my
skip the
lady.
Christmas party?
I don't know why did the face of Bo skip the Christmas party.
He didn't have anybody to go with.
Did he walk? Did he get pushed in saying, "I ain't got nobody"?
I wouldn't put it past him.
Everybody needs somebody.
Body. Every Bo face needs a body.
So happy holidays to the Hooniverse. With me today are my two favorite Whovians, Mike and James. How are you two?
Just Ducky.
Oh, hello, Ducky.
Hello, Ducky.
Quack, quack.
Yeah, I'm conscious. That's about the best I've been all week so far.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I'm moderately conscious myself. So,
I'm conscious of the cold.
oh, God, yeah, we had freezing fog this morning. And that's been expanded to noon today.
Well, I'm just kind of dreading the next few days because we're supposed to kind of have sub-zero temperatures. And as Alex is away, it'll be me getting up to defrost the chicken's water bowls every morning.
Oh.
It's normally his job.
Oh. Poor you.
You know, I'll give you an inmate tip. Just take a 9-volt battery and just a couple of wires. Just put it in the water. It won't electrocute them, but it'll keep the water from melting.
Will they give birth? Will they lay hard-boiled eggs to save the time?
That would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Or you could just buy a bowl heater.
Yes.
Yeah,
They do make those as well.
we tried one of those.
Mm-hmm.
The hens ate it.
You
What
gotta
do
get
those
the
eggs
stainless.
taste like?
You got to get the stainless steel ones where the heater is underneath the bowl.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! So, what do you say, we roll into some Who news?
Go for it.
Okay, so it's been kind of sparse, but I have upcoming Christmas special rumors. So the 2024 Doctor Who Christmas special is titled "Joy to the World," which we already knew, and it'll air on Christmas Day, which again we already knew it wouldn't be a Christmas special if it aired like Thanksgiving. So it'll be on BBC One in the UK and stream on Disney Plus in other territories on Christmas Day. It is a Moffat written story, and Ncuti Gatwa will of course be the Doctor, and Nicola Coughlan will play Joy. Doctor travels through time to deliver a ham and cheese toastie and a pumpkin latte while Joy visits London for Christmas. I didn't know the Doctor was an Uber Eats guy, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Why
fair
not?
play. I guess you got to make a little bit of money somewhere.
Your
I
delivery
suppose.
in 30 minutes, just 30 minutes before you've ordered it.
Right. Doesn't matter which 30 minutes, as long as it's there in 30 minutes.
Well, he just
so-
shows up with it. You didn't even know you needed it until you
Right.
think he shows
I
up.
didn't even know I was
just
hungry,
gonna
but
order
now
that.
I'm feeling a bit peckish.
I actually submitted a script, not seriously, but I pitched on to one of the big Finnish people. And I said that you could have a bunch of con artists who basically claimed to be time travelers, who turned up and told you that you had ordered this stuff and they had travelled back in time to deliver it to you, but they'd gone too far. But if you didn't then hand over the money to buy it, you would destroy the causal network. And so
I
It's a
love
good
it.
scam.
Yeah.
It's a good scam. So the episode will take the Doctor to eras including 1940 Manchester, 1953 Nepal, and 1962 Italy. Fans were able to get a first look at the special at the San Diego Comic-Con, which included a clip showing the Doctor and Joy meeting in a hotel room. Some
Sounds
fans,
like a FurryCon.
yeah, right. Some fans had the chance to win a private screening of the episode at a local cinema with up to 30 friends and loved ones. The competition was part of the Friendship is Universal campaign, and entries were accepted until October 13th, 2024.
and Doctor Who fans have 30 friends?
I mean,
They don't have to be Doctor
Possibly.
Who friends. They just need
Oh,
to
that's
be
true,
friends.
yeah.
yeah. And there's a T-Rex.
Yeah.
So,
And
Oh, of course.
I've got an update for you.
good.
Yeah. Moffat wasn't actually ever going to write it.
Really?
There was an interview on local news a while back, and trying, if it was only on one regional local news things, which is why it took a while to spread out onto the internet and everything.
Right.
But yeah, apparently, Russell T Davies was halfway through writing this year's Christmas special when he realised he hadn't started on series 2.
Like, oh crap! I've got a whole other series I have to write.
Yeah.
He's been doing this a while. You would think.
Yeah, and apparently, according to Mr. Moffat, Russell T Davies said, "I don't suppose you could write the Christmas special for me so I can actually kind of like do the series." But it is, it's a complete fresh script. It wasn't kind of like he handed over the notes or anything. It was just he said, "Right, we'll abandon what I've written, and we'll go with a brand new one that you've written yourself."
Well, I mean, aside from it being Moffat, the teaser trailer I watched did look pretty good.
I'm gonna try and curb my cynicism because it's Christmas. Yeah,
Right.
That and the fact that, from what I've worked out, people will be watching this podcast after it's shown,
Yes.
and therefore at the moment I can't talk with certainty about it. But
Right. Well, I mean, that's
we
the way
do
time
also
works.
know a little bit about the plot. It is apparently a hotel chain, time traveling hotel chain that basically kind of like can rent out its rooms.
Also owned by the notorious company that the Doctor has been fighting during the last season of Doctor Who.
It's just very interesting that there is a fourth Doctor audio called The Bad Penny, which is set in a hotel with time traveling capability. Anyway, I wish they could have put that news story out before I did last month's kind of sequels, prequels, and Lollies with loose back doors, because it would have made a lovely lead into Christmas.
Yeah.
Of course. Oh, well.
Yeah. But I'm going to hold off my cynicism because I don't remember there being dinosaurs in The Bad Penny, but I haven't listened to it for a while. And I've told myself I'm not to listen to it. I've told myself, wait till I've seen it, then listen to it afterwards.
Right.
So that in January's podcast I can do a big bitch fest.
Yeah. All right. Moving along. Of course, we get another 15th Doctor Special Edition Christmas Sonic.
Okay, I have to say something about this sonic screwdriver. It just reminds me of an Epilady.
Yes, a little bit.
And especially the red and green now. I looked at it and I'm like,
Yeah.
really? It's kind of like it almost has like the little, like you got in the Cracker Jack box, the little magnifying glass that comes out to the side.
Right.
I'm like,
That's
seriously?
one. Yeah.
Yes.
For me, it's either the magnifying glass which comes out, or it's a shoe insole.
Right.
Right. It does look. It does look like Maxwell Smart's phone.
Yeah.
Seriously. I get that they wanted to
Missed
make
it
it
by that
cutesy, but
much.
still.
Right.
Still, come on.
Yeah.
Oh
boy. Right.
Yeah.
So back to the screwdriver.
Yes. Yeah. It's a red and green version of the same one that they've been selling. So special edition.
Yeah.
Get your money.
The color is a special edition.
Just take my money. Just take it.
I think because Character Options have now launched their 15th Doctor and Ruby figures.
Yes.
I think they've also now launched 2 variants already.
Yes. There's the chrome one that or the very
No,
shiny.
I mean the figures. I mean the actual.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the Sonics again.
No,
Yeah.
no. I mean they've released the 15th and Ruby action figures, and I think there's now already 2 variants. It's just like,
Oh wow.
could you just kind of like do either slow it down or do different ones each time?
Or just like we discussed before, make the Doctor figurines like Ken dolls, where you can change the clothes, sell clothing packs.
And then you can just buy a new head each time they regenerate. You just put the new head on, you get a new costume.
Sorry, you've just given
What are
me,
you gonna do about Shooty's hands?
you've just given me flashbacks to Wurzel Gummidge.
Gloves.
Gloves. Well, what do you do if he regenerates into a woman again?
Again, it's
you
just
can
the
have
clothing.
lumps
The
of
clothing
blue tack.
would have the bumps. So,
Dalek
you put the-
bumps. That's
yeah.
right.
Yes.
Oh, I can see
Etheric
the on
beam
switch.
locators. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all the news of toys I have. So James has added some other stuff. Do you want to take it, or do you want me to take it, James?
Yeah, you can read it out, and then I'll provide some kind of context and background.
Okay, so talking Christmas, there's more Who-related broadcasts to look forward to. Earlier in the year, the Doctor Who prom took place, and finally, the BBC are broadcasting the highlights as part of their Christmas festivities. And that's not all. The team that brought you the Daleks in color last year have done a follow-up. The last second Doctor story, The War Games, has been edited down to 90 minutes, given new CGI and fresh coloring, and will be shown on BBC 4 on December 23rd.
So, of course, you've already watched it because this podcast is coming out after it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've got a couple of questions because I'm really confused.
Okay.
I've just come from
confused.
the Wicked...
I don't know what hope we have. But...
Yeah. I've just come from the Wicked musical. And, yes, I've seen the stage show twice.
Mm-hmm.
And Wicked Part 1 is basically Act 1 of the Wicked musical.
Right.
Act 1 of the Wicked musical, on the stage, lasts 90 minutes. The movie lasts 2 hours and 40.
Mm-hmm.
Because apparently it was too fast moving, so it needed to be slowed down a bit and character depth and all that stuff.
Right.
The War Games lasts 2 hours 40, and they're editing it down to 90 minutes. Because apparently it's too slow moving for modern audiences, and it's just I can't cope with this. Yeah.
Welcome to editing.
I say there's this weird thing that kind of like 60s Doctor Who. It's not suitable for modern viewers. And it's apparently the reason they did the Daleks was the Daleks was too slow, so kind of we re-edited it to a more modern style.
Mm.
Well, we watched it and we thought, we've never seen Doctor Who in the modern era in that style, so I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, it was rumoured much earlier in the year, but it has finally been announced. War Games was 10 episodes. Now, I'm not saying that it needed to be 10 episodes.
Right.
There were very good production reasons, because basically they had scripts that fell through, and they were basically just kind of like writing this story and writing it till they got to the end of the season.
Mm.
But actually, it holds up really well as a 10-part story.
Oh, nice.
But they're editing it to 90 minutes. They're basically losing 3/5 of it.
Yes.
And they're putting in new CGI. They're doing new music for it. And could someone tell me what modern viewers actually want to see? Because I'm really say, at one end of the spectrum, you've got things like Foundation, which is like a 10-hour movie just chunked up.
Yes.
Where nothing happens. Or you've got
yes.
Or you've got
something happens. It just happens very slowly.
Or Dune.
Or you've got editing so fast it has to come with an epilepsy warning.
Right.
So what do modern viewers actually want?
They don't
think
know.
It's again, I think it like a middle ground would be nice.
Yeah.
It seems like editors today, they either want to like go super long, these epic long movies, or they want to condense it all into a 20-minute YouTube clip, basically.
Yeah. There's a lot of positivity floating around about it. I'm definitely holding off thoughts till after I've seen it, because I have a real soft spot for the War Games, and I want to see how they're going to remove 3/5 and still keep certain important character stuff in there.
Maybe they're taking out all the quarry scenes.
No, that would reduce it to 90 seconds. Yeah,
Okay, so it's not that.
It was basically filmed at Brighton Rubbish Dump, and the reason they filmed it there was because they had just finished filming the movie musical Oh, What a Lovely War.
Mm-hmm.
So Brighton Rubbish Dump was still decked out as World War One, and the BBC just were like, "Oh, we can use this."
That exists. No money spent.
Right.
And the problems, it's an interesting thing, because we've had a big debate about this as well online recently. about the level of music, because sometimes the music tends to drown out the dialogue. And there is kind of like a lot of music in Modern Who. In some 45-minute episodes, I think about 35 minutes has got music underscoring it. Whereas
That reminds me, as we go forward, I also have a bit about music that I need to remember to talk about during my favorite episode.
Okay. And it might be the same bit that I'm going to talk about, actually.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
But yeah, as I say, kind of the classic series DVDs, where possible, they had an isolated score soundtrack. But New Who, from Eccleston onwards, there's never been an isolated score. People have tried to kind of like pull it out using the 5.1 surround sound tracks and everything like that. It doesn't quite work 'cause there's still dialogue on there. But yeah, we're getting another prom. We had several in the Tennant years. We had a couple at the start of the Smith era, and then they disappeared off the scene. But it is important to realise this is highlights being shown. The slot, I think, is 60 minutes, and I think the prom itself lasted 1 3/4 hours, maybe. So the good news is it was broadcast live on radio, so if people aren't happy with the edit, there is a full-blown copy of the audio knocking around just without the visuals.
Okay.
And bearing in mind, in previous years, the proms have even contained mini episodes.
Nice.
It should be worth seeing what they've concocted for this year.
Yeah. Excellent. So moving on, if you believe in curses, then Expanded Universe Most Cursed Release has been hit by another snag. Last year, Big Finish released a mini-series for the anniversary under the banner heading of Once and Future. The releases had problems which resulted in late deliveries of the CDs due to all kinds of printing errors on the packaging. This month saw the release of Coda, the final installment of the range, and guess what? This time it was errors with the CDs that mean physical releases aren't out when they should. The good news is that the digital release is available for download and marks Joe Martin's first appearance in Big Finish as the Fugitive Doctor. And to finish off with, if you think there was something lacking from Ncudi's first season, well, the BBC have now released a batch of scenes that were cut from the final broadcast episodes. To go with them, there's even short notes from RTD himself explaining why they were cut, and it's not always for the reasons you expect.
There's one scene cut from the Giggle, where basically the official reason is, the scene just went on too long. You know, you watch the clip of it online and you think, no, it's because the background's fucking moving around. It's terrible CGI. It's awful. You know?
Right?
There's a bit from Empire of Death which has been released, which shows how the Doctor actually got that weird whistle thing. There's the death of the memory TARDIS is actually in a deleted scene. Ooh. But then RTD decided he didn't like writing it out of the series. He wanted it still out there somewhere.
Right.
Okay.
There's character moments from 73 Yards, and there's some other odds and ends. There's kind of like a couple of scenes from Devil's Cord and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's not the most inspiring collection of cutscenes. It doesn't really add much, except for the Empire of Death one, which fills in a whacking great plot hole. God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's all about entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what the director thinks is entertaining.
Well, that's true. It comes down to the director and the editor. What do you think of this? I think it's crap. Okay, it's gone. Oh,
yeah.
But what? That means there's a plot hole now? God damn it.
And
somebody will fill it in.
This is the other thing with going back to the War Games. When they edited the Daleks down to 75 minutes last year, there were some big plot holes left in from the editing. So it's going to be interesting to see how well they kind of flow the War Games. God.
Yeah. Should be an interesting adaptation.
Oh,
Well, we'll see.
I will say though, the Daleks last year looked amazing in the colorization front, and we do have a lot of color photographs from the various sets of the war games. So hopefully the colors will be a bit more authentic than they were with the Daleks. But the trailer they put out, with the exception of a couple of tiny bits, the trailer does look really good on the colorization front.
Excellent. I mean, maybe we'll get lucky, and it will be really good. You just don't know. I mean,
No.
With stuff like that, a good editor can, really make some cuts that don't impact the story. But 90 minutes sure does seem like an awful short time to put such a long story in.
Bearing in mind that there are like 4 and 5 part Pat Troughton stories that exist that would edit to 90 minutes just by taking out the credits and the reprises.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
It's possible that they could do a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
possible.
you can gloss over a lot of stuff with a voiceover narration explaining things.
Yeah.
You can take massive amounts of story plot and just say, and meanwhile, back at the farm.
They did that with the audio release of Genesis of the Daleks. They took the 6-part the 6-part episode, fitted it onto an LP, and just Tom Bacon narrated the hell out of the missing scenes.
There you go. Yep.
Oh my goodness. Well, are we ready to get on to the main topic?
Sure.
It's Christmas!
Yes. So
Yes.
our main topic is our favorite Christmas Who, which is Cindy Lou, obviously.
Obviously, it's got to be Cindy Lou Who.
So we're going to discuss some of our favorite Doctor Who Christmas specials and moments. For me, there's really the best one is Runaway Bride. So some really great specials, and we all have our favorites, but mine is the Runaway Bride. It's the first appearance of Donna Noble, and whoa, did I hate her in the beginning?
Right?
First impressions of Donna: loudmouth, denser than a fruitcake, which also kind of describes the character to a T. Selfish, and a definite bridezilla.
Yeah.
So Donna is transported into the TARDIS mid-flight, which leads to possibly one of the funniest moments in the 10th Doctor's run. The Doctor is so gobsmacked that all he can do is keep saying, "What?
What?
What?"
Yeah.
It's just priceless. I mean,
Did they ever explain how that happened?
yes, they do
Okay.
explain later in the episode.
Yeah, I thought so, but I'm only halfway through that episode.
It was a TARDIS acting as a magnet for the Huon particles.
Right. He had
That's
a Huon particle in a I guess a scientific file, basically keeps things in the TARDIS, and that one little Huon particle being the last one supposedly in the universe, and then Donna being flooded with Huon particles, it just kind of became a magnet, and she got sucked to the TARDIS.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a pretty good writing on this episode. I really enjoyed the episode, and it's probably some of the best special effects and the most fun of any episode of Doctor Who from this era.
What was the music bit you wanted to remind me
So the
of?
music bit I want to say is I forgot how much fun the music was from 9 and 10's first seasons. The just the amount of music that was in it, and the amount of really catchy, fun songs that were in it as background music. Just I forgot how much I missed that. It's just it's really just excellent music those first couple seasons. There's what's not to love in this special? It's robot Santas, exploding ornaments, giant Spider Woman who identifies herself as the Empress of the Arachnos. Rewatching this episode after so many years, I forgot just how much fun it is, and the special effects are some of the best in my opinion. The TARDIS flying down a motorway and bouncing off a car was so well done.
Right.
And yeah, by the end of the episode, my entire opinion of Donna had changed. And who knew that Donna would end up being such an important companion in the 10th and 14th Doctor's timeline? I mean, it's the beginning of like a long setup, and I think it really did pay off well.
And in true Russell D Davies style, it was improvised all the way along, though you would never know it.
Right. But like I said, looking back in hindsight, they really did manage to make everything flow from the point that Donna first gets sucked into the TARDIS to to the very end. I just have to say the episode, it holds up so well, where a lot of the other episodes have really kind of that didn't age well at all. This one, I think it's a classic. It holds up really well. The special effects, there wasn't a bit of it that I thought was dodgy at all. It's just a great episode.
The fact that the Empress of the Arachnos is a physical prop.
Right. And the makeup is so freaking amazing, and
I've
seen
the prop up close as well.
Yes. I have too.
Yeah. Of course,
because we went.
Yeah. I couldn't remember if it was one that we went to together or if it was one of the ones I went to.
It is one of the ones we went together. Yeah. So it was fantastic prop, and like I said, the eyes blinking just bring the creepiness level all the way to 1,000.
What I was going to say was why I wondered if you were going to mention the taxi bit.
Yes.
So after Doomsday, after Rose has gone off into parallel Earth with half-human Doctor, between the broadcast of that and The Runaway Bride was the first concert.
Mm-hmm.
And as a teaser for The Runaway Bride, they played the taxi scene up to the point where Donna is just about to jump.
Right.
And you can see the atmosphere in the concert hall is absolutely electric. Everyone is watching, and then it's like, to be continued, and the whole it's like, what? No!
I mean, it's the special effects is done just so well, and then the after he's rescued her and they're up on the roof, he's like, for a ship, it doesn't do a lot of flying. We better give her a couple hours to recover.
It's Russell T Davies not having to introduce a new Doctor and having to realise, I've got 60 minutes of the schedule to fill. Yeah. What can I do that is going to have the family gasping at the TV?
That freaking car chase scene is just amazing. I mean, it's just really well done. And I mean, like I said, the whole episode is just really well done. That's why it's my favorite Christmas episode. There's no real plot holes. There's a lot of fun, a lot of feeling. I mean, you really see the Doctor, trying to recover from losing Rose, and Donna actually ends up helping him at the end. It's really great, and I didn't know that the American release of that had cut the ending of the episode. It had been shortened quite a bit. So where the points where she tells him, you need somebody, to stop you sometimes. That didn't air in the U.S. apparently.
Well, that's because it was a PBS 1 hour time slot that they had for Doctor Who, and no matter how long the episode was, they had to make it fit into an hour.
And it really. I'm glad I didn't see that version because, it really that last little bit really adds to the story, and it makes it great, and I'm sorry for all the U.S. people that saw that and missed the last couple minutes of the episode.
Well, they can watch it again on Max now. It's available on Max.
Yeah, or Amazon Prime.
Actually,
in England, it's on iPlayer. It's in every second-hand shop in the country.
True.
It's kind of been given away with magazines
as well.
Yeah. The funny thing about it is Paramount only shows from, I think, the last season of Smith forward. Whereas if you want the early ones, with like the whole David Tennant series, you need to be on Max.
Right.
It's very strange. It's very different streaming networks have different licenses for the Doctor Who series. Yeah, it's weird.
And it's so chopped up and so chaotic. I'm glad I do have a lot of this on physical media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mike, you can go next.
Oh, thank you very much. I don't have a favorite one, but one of the ones that I remembered when you said we were going to do this was The Next Doctor.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
And it's done well. It's fun. It's still really sad when you think about it. The whole premise is sad. And I thought it was kind of funny. He gets there. It's Christmas. It's snowing. It's very Dickens-esque London. Everybody's singing Christmas carols in the stovetop high hats with the high-collared shirts, and they're all with their little muffs and stuff. And he even says to a small boy, "Boy, what day is it?" And I thought, oh, really? You had to go there? And
It's something only 10 can get away with.
Right, and as he's taking in the greeting card scene, someone yells for the doctor, and he's rightly confused. He's like, What? Nobody knows I'm here. And, he goes running there, and the gal is still yelling for the doctor, and he's like, I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm right here. What are you talking about?
Right.
And then a weird-looking doctor, I guess the costume that he chose for that just kind of reminds me of the curly-haired guy. Which I don't even watch his series because I don't like him. Is it not Paul McGann? Is it? No, that's
Colin Baker.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, Colin Baker.
Yeah.
The other Baker with the wavy curly
Yeah.
hair.
And then, why did the Cybermen have to make cyber dogs? That seems like it was very
They were
Ghostbustery.
lonely. They needed puppies.
They don't have any emotion. Why would they need puppies?
Well, I don't know.
That's the whole point of this show. That this series, this
I mean,
this
that's the only
particular
reason
episode,
I need puppies is I'm lonely.
They talk about how they have no emotion, they have no anything, but yet they had to make doggies. Wait a minute, what?
Really, seriously, 'cause I'm doing some research for another podcast at the moment, and
Still better than Cybermats.
I've come to the conclusion that the if you want to find the stories with the biggest plot holes, the biggest flaws of logic, the biggest emotional cock-ups, it's all the Cybermen stories.
Right? Yeah. I mean, and even this one, and now granted, I watched this out of sequence because I had to skip ahead from the season I'm currently watching of the David Tennant. So there's some things that they carry forward from previous episodes that if you don't watch it up to this, you don't know what's going on. Like the brain Cybermen. I mean, it's got the black face mask, looks like in the furry world a protogen with a brain on the top of it. And it's like, why would you expose the brain like that? I don't understand. Does that make you more important? But
It's traditional. In the early ones, the cyber leader was big domed head with kind of what looked like brain visible inside it.
yeah, okay.
But as I said, logic and Cybermen stories really
Well, they
don't
don't
go
go
together.
Yeah,
No.
they don't particularly meld well.
And then they take on this Raiders of the Lost Ark tilt as all the children are working in the steam engine that they're going to make the sci. Why did they have to make it a steam engine when they have the technology to make humans into? I don't understand that. But again, logic doesn't dictate with
A
the
Cyberman
Cybermen.
story, yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, the pretend doctor, is a victim of a convenient plot device of the data spindles. It's like, how do we get this guy to believe he's a doctor? Oh, data spindles. And then there's good old Rosita. She knows the truth. She knows what's going on. She knows immediately that the new guy is the real doctor.
When they announced that name, my mind thought, my God, they've got a lesbian. They've got Rose Eater. And
As soon as he said it, all I could think of was we have a brand of corn chips here called Rositas. And I'm like,
dear.
ooh, she's going to make some corn chips. Yay. And then, of course, there's the lady in red that comes to the funeral, and all the men are, you women can't come to funerals. How dare you? How dare you?
well, that's how it was back then.
Yeah.
I know, yes. And she's wearing this red dress. And she really doesn't understand how the Cybermen think and work because she thinks they're going to bow down to her.
That's again traditional in so many cyber stories.
Yeah. They always seem to like sucker some human into working for them behind the scenes, and the human always ends up being cyber converted.
Right? Yeah. And then at the end, I thought it was kind of sweet. The doctor lets the pretend doctor see the inside of the TARDIS, and I thought it was hilarious when he says, "Well, all your answers are in the TARDIS," and they go to the balloon, which stood for Tethered Aerial Release, designed in, and I can't remember what the last thing. Style. Yes. Designed in style. Yes.
I mean, it's not a bad acronym.
No, no. I thought it was very sweet. You know, he invited him to dinner, and of course, Tennant says, "No, I don't socialize like that." And then at the very end, he said, "Yes, he capitulated and went to dinner with him." And but I have to
because
ask,
he missed out with Donna.
yes,
So,
he did.
well, he slipped out. You know.
I'm not going to
And
go
we
there.
then
There's
found
too
out what
many
Donna's
jokes.
mother's cooking was like, so I think he actually kind of...
Well, we do know going forward that apparently her cooking is fairly good, and she makes always way too much.
Yes.
Like all good mothers.
Like all good mothers, yeah. So I have to ask then, is this pretend doctor, does he ever pop up again anywhere in the canon? Never again.
I haven't heard of anything.
No.
Because
he was very much a one-off, and even Big Finish haven't touched him.
Because it's funny because, Doctor, the Ninth Doctor leaves him there to do his doctor things, even though he's now kind of getting his memories back. But he's still very smart and still very clever. So I'm thinking, you'd think that over time, some of the things that he did would affect the future timeline.
The trouble is, by that stage, Russell T Davies had quit. Therefore,
Right.
basically, kind of like, there's so many loose threads from those specials that kind of he can get away with because bye-bye.
Bye. I'll see you out. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But now he's back. He has to tie them all up.
That doctor, yeah, man, he's such a tragic character. I mean,
He is, and
yeah,
the fact that that Tennant kept thinking that he was a future version of him.
I don't remember this one.
I know, but see, and that's a common thread in a lot of the episodes too. The Doctor encounters another Doctor that's part of a timeline that they haven't gone to yet, or the female Black Doctor who buried the TARDIS in the dirt. Where does she come back into play?
She's pre-Hartnell.
Yeah.
She's pre-Hartnell. Okay.
She's very early.
Okay, so if she's very early, why wasn't she considered on the little spindle thing? Because she wasn't invented yet, but she was early. I get it. Timey wimey stuff is terrible.
Because actually, the other really big problem is that the data spindle is actually, it's not even a Cyberman thing; it's a Dalek thing.
Yeah.
And the Daleks don't have the War Doctor on there because
Yes.
A, he hasn't been written yet.
Yes.
It's like B, because it's oh shit. Nope, I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
So
problem.
that is the joy of this series, though. You just have to say, well, that might come back to play later on, or it might not. You never know.
Yeah.
You just never know. So, but that was my Christmas special that I liked.
I'm going to go for one which is, I know it's not actually the most popular. I'm going to go for now. In England, it was called Voyage of the Damned.
Mm-hmm.
Did they rename it for America?
Gosh, I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Because there was
I don't
actually
think so
in the early 80s there was a comic strip called City of the Damned.
Right.
And when it was
Yeah.
released in America, they had to rename it as City of the Cursed because of censorship laws. So yeah, I'm going to nominate Voyage of the Damned because I don't care if it's cheesy, cliched or whatever.
Right. Still a fun episode.
It's Doctor Who does a disaster movie.
Right.
And it means that kind of once you've realised that Doctor Who is doing a disaster movie, you can start to play right. They're gonna die next. Oh shit! No, it's them. That's the one that's gonna die next. It's like, they're gonna die horribly, but they're gonna die self-sacrifice. He's a right bastard, so yeah, he's gonna live till the end.
Yes. The bad guy always lives till the end. Yeah.
And I just find it just ridiculous. It's no brain fun. It's this kind of great. We know what we're doing. We don't care that you know that we know what we're doing. We're
Right.
just going to play it. And say I love the heavenly hosts. I love the design of the set. I actually don't even mind Kylie Minogue. I'm not a big Kylie fan actually. A hand in my gay card. Having said that,
We'll cut that part out for you.
but there's
But there's also Banica Falata.
there's so many good bits.
Yeah.
I say just
It's really
lovely. There's two bits that you will not know about Voyage of the Damned. Both, one of them is definitely gone down in Doctor Who infamy. The gentleman who played Mr. Copper
Right.
He survived till the end. Yeah. He gave an interview to Doctor Who magazine. How Doctor Who magazine felt that interview was suitable to be published, I do not know. Let's just say that the actor concerned does not come across particularly well in this interview. It's one of those things when you read it, and it's like reading a car crash. I mean, this guy is being rude, he is being obstreperous, he is being everything that could, the worst possible interviewee. And yeah, they still publish it, and it's lived on in infamy as kind of like the one-page interview that reminds you, yeah, we don't idolize all actors for a reason.
Right.
The other thing, and this is not one that's widely known, but it's one that I happen to, and I've got a copy of this, by the way. So in the Tennant era, I mean, Doctor Who is huge. No idea why. When Smith and Moffat took over, it went downhill a bit. But popularity,
nobody could understand Smith. That's why.
Yeah, it was absolutely huge. And I mean, yeah, you had features in the Radio Times, which is a big national magazine and stuff like that. But every bloody magazine was running Doctor Who features. And there was a kids' comic called Toxic. Okay. And Toxic ran a 2-page preview of Voyage of the Damned. Okay. With one slight problem. They hadn't seen the episode.
So they just made it up.
They basically previewed an episode that they hadn't seen, knew nothing about. And there's kind of these bits when you read and you think, yeah, that wasn't in the episode. Why are you talking about it?
It's just kids. They won't know any better.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those kind of really over the top, wonderful. It's perfect. I don't know why soap operas. I don't know what they're like in America, but in this country,
they're awful.
But say on Christmas Day they save Christmas Day for the most depressing plots.
Yes.
If there's going to be plane crashes, if there's going to be kind of big disasters, it's the Christmas Day episode.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want the hero being carried up by 2 bloody robot angels, and I want I want bat and ball games with the halos, and it's just joyous. It's just lovely, and and of course, it gave us Bernard Cribbins.
True.
Who was never intended to be Donna's grandfather.
But oh my God, what a beautiful job he did.
Yeah. He stepped in to replace Donna's father, who sadly passed away. And yeah, again, Russell T Davies is the master of making things up as he goes along. He can see the bits that he can join up. And yeah, getting Bernard Cribbins back to be Donna's grandfather. They reshot all the scenes that the father had shot. They rewrote the dialogue. And yeah. And of course, going right back to The Runaway Bride, that also gave us the lead in to Turn Left, which is not only Catherine Tate's absolute masterclass in acting, it's Bernard Cribbins at absolute best as well.
True.
So I think between the across the Tennant specials, there is just so much that is there that Russell T Davies knew that he could pick up on. And he just made a real world from it.
Yeah, I mean, there were threads to pull everywhere to bring everything together, and it really did come together pretty well. I mean, whether or not he planned it or he just got that lucky, it's it's a fantastic run.
And you'd think that Doctor Who would be a natural for Christmas, and everyone goes, "Oh, why didn't we have Christmas specials before the Christmas invasion?" And the actual truth is, we did. And it's one of these things that kind of like, in the 70s and 80s, television-wise, Christmas Doctor Who just did not suit Christmas because Doctor Who was 25-minute episodes.
Right.
They didn't realise that you could have fun with it. You certainly kind of couldn't do a Christmas story in 25 minutes with Leela threatening to skin Santa Claus or something.
Well, sure you could.
Yeah. But you go to the extended universe, and Christmas is huge in the extended universe. And so what I've done for the kind of the trivia bit to finish with, this isn't all of them, by the way, because there are so many Christmas stories.
Oh yeah.
We could have had like a feature-length Wicked style extra hour tacked onto the end sort of edit. But I wouldn't look so good riding a giant broomstick between my legs.
There you go.
Yep, Eric's gone. Brilliant.
There's a niche for everything, James. So just imagine, just remember that.
It's okay.
More than a niche.
Galinda had the long, thin, slim one. Anyway, right. So technically, I mean, what I'm going to go through, they're not all 100% Christmas stories, but there's a reason why I've chosen all of them. Okay. And not all of them are easy to get hold of if you're being completely moral. I think if we just leave that as the undercurrent of...
Okay.
Yeah. Because the first one goes back to the first Doctor, and actually kind of like the 1960s. As I've mentioned before. Oh, by the way, happy 60th birthday to Doctor Who.
Yay! Yes, happy 60th birthday, Doctor Who.
You'll notice I said 60th, not 61st, because we've just had the 60th anniversary of the comic strip.
Right.
And unlike the TV series, the comic strip managed to keep running. Yep, that was nearly got Eric to spit the water out.
Nearly.
Yep.
And the original comic strip though was very much aimed at the kiddie level kind of thing. But some of them are really good fun. And our first ever Doctor Who Christmas full-blown story was called A Christmas Story. It was a 4-part comic strip adventure. The Doctor helps Santa make and deliver model TARDISes, which are the must-have toy for Christmas, which in the 60s it was almost true, whilst also defeating the demon magician. Now, if you think, to give you a kind of idea of the style of some of these things, you know how Adam West's Batman had the Bat Belt?
Oh, yeah.
Well, basically, Hartnell's, the first Doctor in the comic strip, had a utility belt. And, I mean, it comes into kind of huge play in this story. The demon magician is eventually trapped in a toy rocket and blasted into space. What's sadly not in the archives anymore, but exists in audio, was the first Christmas episode, though.
Oh.
And the 12-part story, the Dalek Master Plan, ran over the Christmas period. And it just so happened that in that year, Christmas and New Year's Day fell on a Saturday. So, because it was a 12-part story, and it was quite dark towards the end, they decided that they would allow themselves one episode purely of Christmas silliness, and then the New Year's Day episode would kind of transition back into the story kind of thing.
Right.
The Feast of Stephen, episode 7 of the Dalek Master Plan, sees... Oh, God. First half of it is a spoof, essentially, of what was then a very well-known BBC drama called Z-Cars. Basically, it's set in a police station.
Okay.
And the Doctor is accused of being a vagrant who is living inside a police box.
Of course.
Well, I mean, technically that's
Technically.
true.
In the second part, though, it turns into Doctor Who, the silent movie. The TARDIS takes them back to a movie set where they rescue a girl from the sawmill, they're chased by the Keystone Cops, they have a custard pie fight, and you get the immortal line where the Doctor's companion said, and there was a strange man who kept telling me to take off all my clothes. As I said, Sadly, the episode no longer exists, but the soundtrack does, and it's very infamous. Because at the end of it, they realise that when they were at the police station for the first half, it had been Christmas Day. So the Doctor brings out a tray of drinks for his companions, and then turns to the camera and says, "And a Merry Christmas to all of you at home as well."
Oh.
It wasn't improvised, it was in the script, but for a long time everyone said, oh, he improvised it and caused a fury with the BBC bods and everything. But no, it was in the script, it was planned, and it's lovely.
Yeah, a little fourth wall breaking, never hurt anyone.
And Big Finish have ripped the piss out of it a good couple of times as well. Right. So, the other reason kind of like Doctor Who and Christmas go together is because in the 60s, the 70s, and for about 2/3 of the 80s, every year there was a Doctor Who annual. Mm-hmm. And it was annuals were a big Christmas thing. Mm-hmm. They've really kind of fallen out of favour because they require people to read.
Who wants to do that?
Yeah, well, I would say the early annuals, I mean, And the original ones, they had stories in. The audio books of those stories last over an hour. They take that long to read. By the time you get to the 80s, these stories last about 10 minutes in audiobook form. So although it's not technically a Christmas story, in one of the annuals for the second Doctor, there's a lovely story called The Celestial Toy Shop, where the TARDIS brings the Doctor and his companions to a toy shop which seemingly is run by a giant. It's very light on plot. But it's got a very melancholy ending as well. It's not your traditional boisterous Christmas fair. It's one that I would kind of, it's called The Celestial Toy Shop, and if you can find the annuals online, then it is worth having a read just to see kind of, you think, actually as a 25-minute standalone episode, this would have worked. Right. Just going through my list because, Big Finish. Before they did audio short trips, they actually published hardback volumes of short story collections. They lost the license to do it. They managed to do 28 of them in total, with the 29th one being kind of like the best of sort of thing. But the reason we can't do all of the Christmas stories is because 4 volumes of these were Christmas tales. Oh, wow. And bearing in mind that each volume had like 7 or 8 stories in at least, that would give us a huge number. So I simply thought, well, volume 11 was the first one, called A Christmas Treasury, and that's got some really lovely stuff in. There's one called The Man Who Nearly Killed Christmas. It's a story within a story where someone is telling the story of how the Doctor tried to persuade Santa to stop delivering presents because it was destroying the universe. Thankfully, of course, because the Doctor is fictitious and Santa is real, just in case there are any kiddies listening or furries who haven't grown up yet.
Yes, exactly.
The Doctor agrees not to... The Doctor abandons his plans and actually helps Santa build an army of robot Santas to help deliver all the toys.
Oh my gosh, this is where Futurama got their robot Santa.
Yep. There's a wonderful one in there called Christmas Truce, where the Master gate crashes a unit Christmas party and leaves a load of miniature thermonuclear bombs around the place. Because he knows the Doctor will find them, and Joe realises he only gate crashed the party to be with the closest thing he had to friends on the planet.
And what's warmer than thermonuclear bombs?
H-bombs, atom bombs, thermonuclear bombs. It's kind of like,
they just have little mushroom clouds.
They'll bring you a nice warm and fuzzy feeling.
Yes.
There's also a couple of audio short trips that they've done which have been Christmas based. There's one called The Hesitation Deviation, where the Doctor and Benny go somewhere that gets Christmas right every single time. Because, of course, that's never going to go wrong at all.
Well, it never happens ever.
And going back to the Dalek Master Plan, they also released one called The Little Drummer Boy, which is actually set within the Dalek Master Plan, and takes that Christmas episode and turns it into a more perilous situation.
Of course.
Yeah. So, other Christmas ones which are worth looking out for. In the Christmas Treasury, again, there's The Clanging Chimes of Doom.
Oh, that sounds so Christmassy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it's basically the Doctor discovers that there is an alien hidden in the pop video for Do They Know It's Christmas Time at All?
Okay.
You have to read that one to believe it, because the level of research and detail that's gone into it is superb.
Nice.
Yeah. Right, in the slightly more kind of bigger scale stories, Big Finish, normally they released 4-part stories, but occasionally they did like anthology ones where you had 4 interlinked stories.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 that I want to recommend. One is called Blood on Santa's Claw. I had to get my autocorrect to check that one very carefully. 4 interlinked stories that start with the discovery of the dead body of Father Christmas. And the 6th Doctor, Perry, and Joe have got to investigate to find out what's going on. And if you are sitting there looking baffled as to, I don't remember who Joe is, listen to the story, because that might be kind of important.
Okay.
This will be on the final exam.
Yeah. Another one they did a set of 4 called Circular Time. And although technically Winter isn't a Christmas story, as it features blizzards, torture, death, rebirth,
Sounds like Christmas.
And things that, quite frankly, these days don't make any sense, I figured I'd put it in as a Christmas one.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
In terms of 4-part stories, again, not a pure Christmas one, but there's one called The Magic Mousetrap, set in the snow-ridden Alps.
Okay.
Or is it?
Or is it?
Because let's just say by the end of part 2, you realise that there's a lot more going on. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say that this story now definitely doesn't take place, because the main villain in it is one Celestial Toymaker. And yeah,
I mean, I figured he had to get on a Christmas
Eventually,
episode somewhere.
the companions in it are Ace and the audio-only companion Hex, and God, they are having a whale of a time camping it up as posh hotel residents.
Oh, I can only imagine Ace.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's excellent.
At the other end of the scale, you've got the very depressing one called Damaged Goods.
Okay.
Started off as one of the Virgin New Adventures. It was eventually adapted as an audio drama. Sadly, the author of the original book didn't go on to do anything at all, and I don't know whatever became of Russell T Davies, but
One can only wonder.
yeah, the fact that the book, not the audio, but the book ends with a gay sex scene, which has a few awkward bits these days, I think. Yeah.
Awkward, you say?
Basically, the companion gives head. Basically, there's oral sex in it. Yeah.
So they talk a lot.
Yeah. Penultimate one on my list. I'm going to say it's not one I actually really like, but everyone else raves about it. Is Spare Parts.
Okay.
It's an origin of the Cybermen story.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it's set at Christmas on Mondas, the home planet of the Cybermen.
Right.
I think it takes it too far. Other people absolutely rave about it. But yeah, it's, for me, it's just that little bit suspension of disbelief, a little bit too much.
Right.
It's going to be very interesting though, because say Spare Parts, as I mentioned last month, it was mentioned in the credits for Rise of the Cybermen and Age of Steel, as kind of like a with thanks thing. Next year, there's an audio coming out for Big Finish's Lost Range called Genesis of the Cybermen, which is going to be an alternate take on the origin of the Cybermen.
Okay.
Right. And yeah, the amount of Christmas stories that the 8th Doctor has had is just ridiculous. They're actually kind of depressing, most of them. There's death.
Really?
There's one called Death in Blackpool. There's one where giant demons are rampaging. But, and the reason I'm ending on this one is because this, like Spare Parts, is available on Spotify. It's one of the early Big Finishes, so therefore it is on Spotify and it is free to listen to. It is The Chimes of Midnight. It is everything you could want from a Doctor Who Christmas special, because it goes back to the idea of Christmas being a time for ghost stories. Technically, it is part of a larger arc, but it stands alone perfectly. And it is now one of my Christmas traditions that I listen to The Chimes of Midnight at some point over the Christmas break each and every year. I don't care I have heard it 20 or 30 times. It is just beautiful. And one day I can see someone adapting it as a stage play.
Nice.
Because it is claustrophobic, haunted house, Christmas, and some of the most grotesque deaths that you can imagine.
Everything you want for Christmas.
Yeah. And that, of course, brings us up to date with Doctor Who. Just a quick comment as well. In the worlds of Doctor Who, Torchwood has now got into the habit of doing a Christmas special each year.
Nice.
Or a Christmas-themed episode. I shouldn't say a Christmas special.
Right.
This is one is called Reflect, and it features the audio-only character, Mr. Colchester, but the cover features him with Ace, who is wielding a tinsel-covered baseball bat.
Okay.
Well, I mean, when you have
Ben-
such a cool baseball bat, you kind of,
Yeah.
you want to decorate it up for Christmas time.
And you got to show it off.
The
Right.
goddess Benny, whose adventures I still love and are still ongoing, she had an entire audio collection called the Christmas Collection released.
Nice.
There are some free extracts from that on the Big Finish website. And I want to end with Jago and Lightfoot, a command performance. Because quite frankly, it's the Jago and Lightfoot range. If you've never listened to it, you have to. It is just, I describe it regularly as the most civilized science fiction I've ever heard. It's a spin-off from the Tom Baker story, The Talons of Weng Chiang.
Right.
They made 13 box sets of it before, sadly, one of the lead actors passed away. And bearing in mind these lead actors were quite old when they were in Talons of Weng Chiang,
Right.
for them to then come back in the 2000s and do audio dramas. They had planned a 14th box. They released it rather than as dramas. They released it as 4 audio stories, as in, audio book type things.
Right.
And yeah, the very last Jago and Lightfoot story is a Christmas one called A Command Performance. And yeah, it ended the Jago and Lightfoot range absolutely perfectly.
Excellent.
And yeah, strongly recommend all of their stories.
Okay.
All right. So, I guess that brings us to the end of our episode for tonight or today or whatever time it is when you're watching this. Thanks for
Dinner
joining us.
time.
Right. Thanks for joining us on another journey through time and space with the Doctor. Remember, you can support the show by liking and subscribing on YouTube or subscribing on Buzzsprout for as little as $3 a month. You can send us an email at 3dowho@gmail.com or a text from 3dowho.buzzsprout.com. The link is at the top of every episode show notes. Follow us on Blue Sky, 3dowho.bsky.social, and on Facebook at facebook.com/3dowho. And remember, as the 10th Doctor said in Runaway Bride, "Oi, Santa, word of advice. If you're attacking a man with a sonic screwdriver, don't let him near the sound system." As a DJ, I can tell you these are words to live by. Mike,
As
James,
someone who's
any
just sat
final
through,
words?
as someone who's just sat through the Wicked movie, don't
Right.
let the producers near the sound system
Right?
either.
Yeah.
What do you want for next? What would you like for next month, sir?
Oh, well, next month, of course, we're going to be discussing this Christmas
special
episode.
Yes.
Because, that will be
Current.
The newest current
Yes.
that we can discuss.
Yes. Absolutely. And well, I hope everybody had a great holiday season. And since this episode comes out on New Year's Eve, since you're going to release it on the 31st, I hope that everybody is partying responsibly. Because none of us are time travelers and we can't go back to correct things. And God help us if our partying becomes a fixed point in time. And let's hope for a safe and normal, quote unquote, 2025.
I'm going to the inn at the end of the universe.
Okay.
And I'm going to say, wasn't it nice for the aliens to come along and rescue us on Christmas Eve?
Yes. It was wonderful. Thank you very much. Yes.
James, how about you?
Oh, I'm just to say, it's Christmas. Bung the Tenant specials on. They're easily available online, and they are just
They're
silly,
some of the most fun, yes.
fun, gorgeous romps that you could
Yes.
possibly hope for.
Yeah, and like I said, the music is just so good. I mean, I had almost completely forgotten about Song for 10, and I was like, oh, when it hit, my heart just
today.
like, oh, yes. It's just really, really good music. I missed the music from the, from the 9th and 10th Doctor's runs. That all the just custom music was just so fantastic.
It was.
Yes. With that, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Happy
New Year's.
Christmas!
We'll see you next year.